bear stands stranded on a single slab of ice. There's water all around and no land in sight. Where there's usually ice is now water. The polar bear has no other choice but to swim in search for land. Sadly, it usually doesn't find the land it's searching for and ends up drowning. Based on information found on cbsnews.org, a 2009 article predicts that polar bears will most likely not survive as a species if ice continues to disappear during the summers. It will most likely go extinct by the end of the century. The ice in the Arctic becoming water is due to rising temperatures caused by carbon emissions. Polar bears losing their habitats due to carbon emissions is not an isolated event, but as species continue to die off, such as frogs and hermit crabs, this causes a chain reaction in which jeopardizes all life on Earth. The current practice of burning fossil fuel is ensuring our doom, but with little changes to our routine, we can help make a difference and ensure a future for us and the generations to come. The HCF.org in a 2003 article reported that the U.S. total carbon dioxide emission per household is a staggering 59 tons. That's 118,000 pounds in the year 2003. The average sumo wrestler is about 326 pounds. That's an average of 361 sumo wrestlers produced by the U.S. alone. That many sumo wrestlers floating around in the world's atmosphere, heating up the world, is not a pretty image to have. Today, I will explain why too much carbon emission is a threat to life on Earth. Then I will discuss the causes to the excess of gas. And lastly, the solutions we can take as individuals to help make the world a better place to live. First, I'll discuss the problems associated with carbon dioxide emissions. It has been common knowledge that the burning of fossil fuels has been detrimental to our planet for decades. The buildup of CO2 in our Earth's atmosphere is due to the burning of fossil fuels. The planet is getting hotter due to the thickening layer of CO2. As the layer of CO2 builds up in our atmosphere, it traps in more heat, causing temperatures to rise. A 2005 article on MEIC.org states that in the past 1,000 years, the hottest 20 years was between the 1980s and 2005. The world is too dependent on fossil fuel as a source of energy. We use it for everything from for energizing our cars to electricity, or to simply to keep ourselves warm. An article by sustainabletable.org in 2007 explains that 85% of all energy produced in the U.S. comes from the burning of coal and fossil fuels. The energy powers almost 2/3 of our electricity and virtually all of our transportation. Overuse and abuse of electricity contributes to carbon emissions, since most of the world still burns coal for electricity. NewsBBC.UK.CEO states in 2005 that 80% of China still burns coal in order to supply their electricity. It is said on Institute for Energy Research.org in 2001 article that in the year 2009, China burns about 3.5 billion tons of coal. That's 2.5 times more than the U.S. consumption. Carbon dioxide gas causes rising temperatures that threaten habitats and threaten life on Earth. And you thought your uncle's gas emissions were deadly. The Associated Press in 2006 article explains that 70 species of frogs that are mostly mountain dwellers that were unable to escape the creeping heat have gone extinct. Penguins and polar bears are losing their habitats and are unable to find food. They end up swimming more and eating less food. This means they exert more energy, another reason why their populations are dwindling. The excess of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere has many causes. The burning of fossil fuels is one of the contributing factors. Teachcoal.org in a 2010 article explains that 9 out of 10 tons of coal mined in the U.S. is used to generate electricity, and half of the electricity we use is generated by coal. As coal is burned, CO2 is released into the atmosphere. Increased CO2 traps heat, and thicker layers of CO2 causes heat to be trapped on our planet. And as the layer gets thicker, just more heat ends up being trapped, and the temperatures tend to rise on Earth. The cutting down of trees for space and paper cause more CO2 to remain in our atmosphere. It is known that trees and plants consume CO2 and let out oxygen, but as deforestation occurs, more carbon dioxide ends up staying in our atmosphere, building up thicker layers. One method of deforestation is called slash and burn. This is when forests are simply set on fire to make room for farms. An article on FAO.org in 2006 explains how trees are 50% carbon, and once it's burned, the carbon that the tree contains releases CO2 back into the atmosphere, there are many causes for excess carbon emissions. Some solutions to the issue can be very complex, while others can be easy as a flick of a finger. One easy way to reduce carbon emission is to turn off lights and unplug electronics when not in use. When your appliances such as your TV or computer are still plugged in, they still take up electricity even though they're not turned on. Simply unplug them whenever they're not in use, or when you're not home, unplug them. Go to or if you would like to save time, buy a power expansion port that's found at any appliance store. Go to Target or Walmart, pick one up. This way you can plug in all of your appliances into one power expansion port. So when they're not in use, you can just flip a switch on the port and turn off all of the electricity going to those appliances. This way you save electricity and time. Practice alternative ways of transportation, such as carpooling, taking the bus, or riding a bike. A bus pass costs about $25 a month. Within that month, you can ride the bus as much as you want, and as you ride the bus, you have extra time to do whatever you like. That is, within the limits of the law. Don't be that crazy guy riding the bus. Invest in a bike. It'll help you get into shape and save money on gas. Whenever it's time to vote, support green parties and eco-friendly legislations. This will ensure that we become less dependent on fossil fuels and make sure that there's more trees to consume carbon emissions. Recycle paper and plant trees. Get involved in community projects. Whenever you have paper, reuse it as much as you can, and whenever you can't, recycle it. Take whatever white paper waste you have to the white paper recycling dumpster that's located to the right of the Mount San Antonio College Library, and just throw it away, and this way they end up being recycled. Or visit arborday.com. This way you know about community projects that are involved in planting trees, or simply you're able to buy a tree and learn how to plant it yourself. You have just learned about the crucial threats to life on our planet, why the problem exists, and some solutions you can take as an individual to help make a difference. The next time you see an unused light left on, just simply turn it off. With just a flick of a finger, you can help make all the difference to a stranded and starving polar bear.